Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Mappening. Barker, how are you?
The Mappening. I'm good. And this is when I speak to test the audio, right?
Yeah. Let us know how our levels are, how we're sounding here. If one of us needs to be turned up, that would be good to know too. I'm going
I
to
don't hear
resize our window
you
a tiny bit.
in my YouTube.
Oh, you don't?
See, nope.
This is a problem.
Let's see. Let's see if I'm alone.
Yeah, let people know how, or let us know how we're sounding here. It seems
I
like
can
things are
see
working
us.
on my end, but
I can see us.
cool. But you can't hear us, huh?
Nope, neither of us are coming through.
Shoot. um, okay. This might be what I was talking about where I have to restart my computer.
No, that's right. Oh, wait, hold on. Matt hears both of us. Hold on. It could just be me. It could just be me.
Okay. Good. Good. Okay,
You,
okay. Hey,
you see
I'm
us?
not going to restart my computer, guys. Don't worry.
Okay, good. Whew.
Okay, Barker can come up a smidge. Cool. Well, hey, I don't know if you guys remember, but the mappening used to be a thing I would do regularly, and now I do it like once a year or so, and it is a great honor. I'm glad I have an excuse to do it with my buddy Barker. So yeah, that's what we're going to be doing tonight. We're just going to be hanging out. I'm going to try to. There we go. Here we go. I'm fixing things here on the fly.
Nice. I'm doing sound checks. One, two.
Good, good. Okay. Did I turn Barker up? Say something again, Barker.
One, two, three, four, five. Dikembe Mutombo. Slam dunk on Toby Maguire.
Absolutely.
All right. Yep.
All right, cool.
And okay,
I
cool.
think we're good now. I think it's looking pretty even. All right, technical technical hiccups out of the way.
Yay.
Welcome, everybody. It's good to have you here. So tonight is a special night because Barker's been talking to me about this for a while. He approached me. It was probably back in like September or October last year, or maybe even during the summer when you guys were running your Kickstarter. Like, hey, it'd be cool to like talk about Enchea as you've been building this world for something that's going to be published soon on Absolute Tabletop, which we'll talk about in a minute. You kind of said, Nate knows a thing or two about world building and maps specifically. I should talk to him. And then I said, yeah, let's stream that thing. And then it just never happened. And so, yeah, we're finally getting around to that. And it's good.
Yep. I see it differently. I see it as I've thought about this for twice as long as it had been since we've talked about it. And this is just a really cool way for us to hang out, super casual, like chill way to get an Enchea map drawn, or some sort of doodle of this world that has been coursing through my mind for so long. So yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for doing this. Thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, absolutely. Has it been coursing through your veins too?
Uh, Less through my veins.
Okay. Fair.
I can pour out my mind, but I can't pour out my blood. That's the thing.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
That would be
yeah,
unhealthy.
yeah, it is. It's this weird like material plane ephemeral crossover. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So, Barker, I'm going to start. Barker gave me a map, like a coastline kind of outline sort of thing that he had made a while ago. So I'll show that now. That's right here. And basically, I'm going to be using this as the basis for a little doodling tonight. I'm going to turn the opacity down on that so I can not see too much of it as I draw my own lines. And while I'm starting that off, Barker, tell us about Absolute Tabletop and the Battle for Arctur's Vault. And then we'll spend most of our time talking about Enchea, which is, of course, the world that is set in.
Thanks for being specific and asking for that, because I am horrible at all of the stuff related to asking people to check out Absolute Tabletop at absolutetabletop.com or the Absolute Tabletop official group on Facebook. I mean, you all know Nate. You see Nate over there. It's just an awesome community of content creators, some of which are streaming right now. So you can check out multiple streams that people are doing. Really cool community. And the Battle for Arctur's Vault is an adventure kit. It's the third adventure kit that Absolute Tabletop is releasing. And it's the first one to take place in this world of Enchea that is just infused and immersed in something that for a long time I've called hyper magic, which is more related to cyberpunk than some fantasy settings, but also more related to fantasy than some modern settings. So, but it still, it has a little bit of all three. Is the dream, is the vision, and we funded last year, and we are on schedule to fulfill by January of next year. And this getting a map drawn is going to be it has been a multi-phase process, and is just necessary for building a world. So yeah, I feel like that answers the question for the most part, right? Yeah, we funded.
Yeah.
Oh, if you want to check out the Battle for Arctur's Vault, you can go to the link that's on our Absolute Tabletop Facebook page. I don't know what that link is. I don't even know where it is. I'm so bad at doing this, but thank you for showing up. None of this matters.
You know what? I think it's actually on absolutetabletop.com. There's a big banner at the top that has Battle for Arctur's Vault. So
Perfect.
I just put that in the chat. Hopefully that, oh, it didn't look like it hyperlinked. Dang it. Do I have to do the HTTPS? Probably do. Absolutetabletop.com. Let's see if it works. I spelled tabletop wrong. Absolute. No, I didn't. Okay.
No, you didn't. I thought you did first.
Okay, now I'm going to try that. Yes, there you go. That hyperlinked because I put the HTTPS.
There are a lot of great creators at the end of that link. Well, I mean, there's Matt Click, Tim Carney, James Carney at the end of that link. Join us at the group to just meet Oodles more. Oodles, yep. I tell you. Oodles.
Yep, and the Facebook page really is a good hub for you guys. Do you guys still have a Discord server? Is that still going?
We do, and we can be better about using it. But a lot of us feel like old boomers when we're trying to work a Discord channel. Dude. And so we're probably going to, pretty soon, we're going to have some fun reveals about some things we've been doing in the background for our website and Discord. And at some point we'll show you all what's going on there. And at that point, I'm sure we'll have surrounded ourselves with a bunch of super intelligent younger people that know how to use it. I hate that I'm saying that. I hate it. But listen, this is life.
Yo, dude, I am so with you on Discord making me feel old. Yeah, I have a Discord, and you all should check it out if you're not already on the Discord. I meant to put some links to things in the video description, and I just didn't put my normal links, but Patrick can probably post a link when he gets around to it, or maybe he already did at the top. Sometimes he does that. Let's see here. Mm-hmm. Yes, he did actually post a link way up at the top of the chat. Hopefully you can still see that if you're a late arriver. But yeah, Jason, okay, Barker. Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
Yes. I was going to say, I'm responding to Jason in the chat. I totally get it. Listen, there's something happening now. It's going at an exponential rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how it goes. All right, so Barker, yes. What am I looking at here? Like, I started drawing this line, and I want to make sure I'm getting it right. This right here is land, yes?
Yep.
Okay, and this right here is water, yes?
Yep, or frozen water. It's ice. It's kind of like a receding lake, depending on what season it is, because Enchea is on a globe. And so that's kind of stretching across the northern pole area. I love that you traced that landmass first, because that is Sur-Saline, where the Winds of Sur-Saline campaign took place. That's that big kind of like structured landmass there.
Yeah.
And it's super pertinent and nice.
Yeah, I'm just gonna write that in here. Also, so people can know how to spell it. so that when they go to look it up on the YouTubes, they can find your campaign, The Winds of Cerceline, which was like life changing for me. Tuning into that, like I just, it really did change the ways I thought about GMing a lot. So, thank you for that.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And straight up, I remember we tried to. Here's a fun anecdote without spoiling it. We tried to put the occurrence in the third session. We tried to put that in a book, and it was awful. I was just such a horrible railroady GM, and we would never ever put a mechanic to that. And Tim and I just kind of stood there aghast that like, wow, we can't do this without like really pissing the players off against the GM.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Yeah. I mean, things depend on your group and on many factors and on your GM, how it's pulled off exactly, which is sometimes hard to write down. So I get that. So let's talk about this idea of an adventure kit real quick, if you don't mind. I'm going to describe it, and you tell me how I'm doing. Okay. All right. An adventure kit is like basically like an RPG adventure, a pre-published adventure, except you're not necessarily connecting all the dots for a GM. It's more modular. It's interesting, like it's more modular than a module is sometimes the way I think of it, in that you can like kind of put together different pieces. You can make this encounter in this room if you want to, or that room, or maybe this room isn't in your dungeon. You're gonna do this idea instead, and it's got different monsters that you can kind of put where you want. So it's just a little bit more. Here are the pieces. Get inspired by them and make your own adventure. Now, you tell me how I did and fill in the gaps, please.
Perfect. I think that's perfect. You started by saying, like, first of all, Oath of the Frozen King. It was our first one. This is a good example. Yeah. It has an adventure story, right? It is an adventure module if you want it to be, because it is a story that takes place in the world of Dragongrin in Barnholm, in which you are delving into a frozen tomb and trying to defeat, in an effort to defeat the Frozen King's minions, fight, spoilers, and then remove the curse from this place. However, like you said, we break up the NPCs from the enemies, from the locations, from the encounters, so that everything can be mixed and matched. And then we include a toolbox of tons of different generators and roll tables. So if you wanted to, you could have a campaign where you're taking out 5 different frozen tombs, and they're all different, and they all have different enemies, and they all have different encounters. You've used the main ones, and you've generated some, and it can be useful on the fly. You also mentioned the modularity. We have Shadows over Driftchapel, and we have the Battle for Arctur's Vault. So, like you said, you can combine them and make it an Eldritch tomb. And you can make that the centerpiece of a battle by using the cinematic mass combat rules that are going to be in the Battle for Arctur's Vault. So there's a lot of different combining you can do, but every single one is ready to go in its own package.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. Yep.
I think we both killed it. I think
we did. Yeah. So I own both of those, Shadows over Driftchapel and Oath of the Frozen King, and can attest to their quality. And you should go check them out on absolutetabletop.com. And there's that big link, like I said, at the top of the page for the Battle for Arctur's Vault. Which, so the cinematic mass combat rules are something that, like, this is applicable to any game. If you want to run mass combat in any game, it's going to be a useful tool for that. Yes.
Yes. It's a framework. It's a 2-parted framework that just can be applied to any system that provides a sort of success-fail combat mechanic or whatever. Any system. It's really just it's 2 parts. It's a player-facing part and a GM-facing part. The player-facing part is built to guide your character through a scene in mass combat, in an immersive way that confronts a conflict, resolves that conflict in any way depending on the system you're using. If you're using 5e, you'll roll a d20. If you're playing Ironsworn, you'll solve the conflict that way, right?
Yeah.
Each scene will resolve that conflict and then pass the torch to another player. And then the GM has their own facing part, which can be used as a GM behind a GM screen if you'd like, or this meta bird's eye view of the entire battle can be set in front of all the players, and you can do this as a cooperative narrative storytelling game. That's what it is at the core. Rules are optional. And this is in the middle of play testing right now. It's currently called the series system. I think I will have it up. I would love to do it before the end of this month. I'm saying next month, but that's what's excited me the most. Just the idea of, I've always been chasing that, the big battle, the cinematic battle, right? As realistic as you'd want, as the battle for Helm's Deep, the battles in, I mean, if you think about like the Warcraft movie, it's such a, I don't know,
Yeah.
people will have takes about that movie, but that movie has some of the coolest like mass combat scenes I've ever seen. And like doing something like that has always been a challenge, because usually these systems turn into miniature games.
Yeah.
And you don't want that, or at least you don't want to lose the essence that places you in the muck, in the fray, in the thick of it.
Yeah, for sure. I think, the word cinematic kind of encapsulates a lot of that. That we're not going for the little tiny details here, and which battalion is moving where. It's it's no. We want to make you feel the battle a little more.
Yep.
Yeah, I
And
appreciate
in the battle, these mechanics are built to tell a story about your legendary weapon that you're wielding and whether it survives the battle, or you can say your reputation as a commander or as a mage. You can the mechanics are built to enhance those aspects of your character even more than your prowess in combat. So these battles can tell a story. I have a question for you as
Absolutely.
we're moving into this zone you have on the southeast. This area is, I love tropes. So if you look at the very, very east and then the very, very southeast of the map, you'll see that the islands kind of turn into just plain circles. I just kind of stop caring what they look like and start putting circles.
Yeah.
I imagine that those islands cannot be mapped because the magic there is so intense that the islands keep changing. It's almost like every island is like an island from the TV show Lost, where it's just weird, it's moving, you travel back in time. There's a point called Last Light, and it's like the final location where people have traveled and still come back. It's like this one little lighthouse or something. Probably very Lovecraftian, very Shadows over Drift Chapel. But I always imagine that those islands, as it becomes known, like, listen, we don't even know what anything looks like here, we're just drawing islands, that they might all look like little pentagons, and they might like be evenly spaced in such a way where it's clear that we're not mapping anything out anymore, but like, or some sort of shape that's like boom boom, like a stamp almost, that they use to show. Have fun mapping, map at your own risk.
Right? Thanks a lot, jerk. I never would have agreed to hang out with you if I knew this was going to happen.
No.
No, this is awesome. I love that. That's super cool. And the question is, how can it be represented? I think, honestly, a pentagon is not a bad idea. Some kind of geographic shape that is clear. Like, this is not... this is not the actual shape of this landmass. Another thought that crosses my mind is just like like an X, an X marks the spot sort of thing, and then you just have a legend that kind of describes. I mean, it wouldn't describe it, would name it, and then you would leave it somewhere in the book to describe it, right?
Right.
But
Terra Incognita might be like something that would be put in a fantasy map. It wouldn't be like more. I think Pentagons would be more of the modern map that eventually will be made, the more modern era. But you're right. In a fantasy map, they would put a dragon there and say, "Don't, Terra Incognita, don't go. Fire's breathing," and call it a day.
Yeah, for sure. I like. Yeah. Anyway, I'll keep it in mind. I don't know what I'm going to do tonight, but maybe just an X for tonight.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we're gonna keep this. I told Barker this, but we're gonna keep this pretty casual. Like we're just. I don't know if any of the lines that I have tonight will be like parts of the final map. I just kind of want to hang out with Barker and doodle on
didn't know there was
his
going
world.
to be a future map early until I broke the news to him about an hour ago. So
so
no worries.
So that brings up another interesting part. Let's start talking about Enchea a little more. Like, describe this world to us, because you mentioned a more modern map, so you're hiring someone else to make. Now, how would you describe the other version of the map? Because I kind of reached out to you, and I think I said like 17th century cartographic style was, I think, how you described it to me like a year or two ago.
Yep, it's really like 19th century maps are kind of the most advanced look. 19th, 18th century.
Sweet.
Because it's a society that has explored enough of the world to be able to map it this far
and be accurate about it.
Yep, and be accurate about it. Like, these are the people in Enchea are the people that name the stars. They're the ones that named the universe Arbitron. That's the name of the absolute tabletop universe, where Dragongrin and Aeronoth and all Koror, all these places are revolving around this blue sun. And Enchea is one of these places, and they would be, would the space between the worlds allow it, they would be the space travelers. They would be the ones that went to the other worlds, but they can't travel through the bleak in between the worlds. They tried, and there is a devastated airship that has turned into kind of a quarter ring around this world over time. Just a symbol of they cannot get past the bleak. They cannot travel through space. It's just devastating. It destroys all the magic that they can put out there.
Yeah, interesting.
Anyway, that's kind of a look at how it's a little bit more modern. Is modern in tone and technology, and I could talk everybody's ear off about Enchea at this point. I'm fluent. I'm getting a degree.
Nice.
At the traveling university.
Yeah. So let me tell you, or let me ask you about the technology. So the Battle for Archer's Vault, I love the logo. If you didn't see the video thumbnail, I probably still have that somewhere. Well, no, I'm not going to waste time pulling it up, but you'll see it on their website, absolutetabletop.com. It's got like a sword and a gun, right, across. So there are guns in Enchea.
There are firearms in Enchea, and the thing about magic, though, is that when you take it to extreme levels, even guns look tiny in comparison. They look meek. Guns tend to make a fantasy setting high magic or high technology, but in Enchea, the magic outweighs it. This infrastructural hyper magic. If you look at there's a crater on the map to the northern side. It's actually called in Enchea, Enchea. This crater, it's called, which literally means footprint. And these actually scroll up to it if you see it really quick, Nate. Where's the? Oh, you see, and there's a little island in the center of it. That lake is called Solace Sound.
Yeah.
And it's that crater has been there for so long, but one of the things that has happened in history in Enchea is that these powerful alchemists, these mages that can channel magic and use ritual to catastrophic effect, tore a hole in the sky and pulled down the bleak. And for lack of a better term, and actually for because it's a good term because it actually works perfect in a way, nuked that entire lake. So what you see there looks like a body of water, but for a time it was all crystal. It was all this purple crystal that the Encheans then went and harvested and had it fuel all of their technology. Most of Enchean magic is repeating rituals, getting rituals to getting a crystal, a Varian crystal, to power something that powers it back. And they do it until the Varian crystal runs out, and then they get a new crystal. And periodically, they have to make more. They have to make do. Some crystals last for lifetimes. Others are used to more drastic effect and can be spent in a moment. Those are probably the most feared. So that's where the technology aspect comes in. It's these crystals that power objects like muskets. One of my favorite art pieces, I wish I had it here, was it's this character whose name is Occam, and they have put a pin in Sur Saline, Logos stars going. They have a rifle that has a crystal where the breech would be, and so when you spend the crystal, right, when it's spent firing different types of ammunition, firing distraction rounds, firing silenced rounds or fiery rounds, et cetera, et cetera. When it's spent, it goes ping and flies out of the rifle. And it's that little touch that I love about Enchea so much, and about thinking about Enchea so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I could jump right into Logos, but I'm going to pass it to you first.
Okay. Well, I do have some questions.
Oh, all right, good.
This right here.
Yeah. Thanks.
Is this a coastline? And then this like water here?
So that entire northern border, even Sur Saline, really consider it as frozen wasteland. So
gotcha.
It stretches to the far side of the world. Enchea is about the size of the moon. And Jason Anders saying someone should put this into book form. Yep, absolutely. And if I were any good at this, I would have the link, but you can scroll up and there's one at absolutetabletop.com. But actually, even more than that, I really appreciate it because I think that this world, it's been fun asking the question, what would really happen if the world were high fantasy? If magic, arcane magic, flipped the tables on the Industrial Revolution, what would that actually do? And I don't think you would have just rogue liches and small regions powered by rulers that are protected by armies. I think that you would have a mutual understanding between all peoples in a similar understanding to what maybe this world had after the atomic bomb was invented.
Yeah.
That's one of the modern parallels. Like we're not talking about the power to corrupt a ring, to corrupt its bearer and be able to turn its wielder into a large armored warrior. We're talking about a ritual that could tear the world in two and send both sides careening into the blue sun, Arbitron.
Yeah.
And if that power exists, who's there to ensure that the apocalyptic zealots don't get it?
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, that's. I love the real world parallels there. I know you're a history guy, Barker, so I know you love that too. And that's why you're doing it.
I do, and I want to spoil something really quick. Occam I've been calling Occam an interloper, but just for this stream, I'll say that Occam is a wind. The winds of Sur Saline, those were the first winds, but Enchea is a world of heroes, and periodically winds get summoned and to do tasks, usually tasks that would lead to apocalyptic circumstances, and the battle for Arctur's Vault is one such circumstance. Hey, thanks for that, Patrick. And through there's a backer kit link.
Nice.
Thank you for jumping into that.
Anyway, I
Anyway,
will pin that message as well.
I no longer have to think about pushing this book. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here to see us just hang out.
Yeah, and I did edit the, by the way, the video description real quick while you were talking, so that folks can find the Discord link there and link to Absolute Tabletop's website. So no longer do you have to keep scrolling up in the chat for a multitude of reasons. We got you covered. All right, I'm going to put X's here for now.
Yeah. And I wouldn't mind, we were talking about like that dragon or that. See, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
Don't go there.
What's that?
No, I'm talking to the people who are holding the map. Don't go there. Don't go there.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so what about, you said, maybe you already covered it. Put a pin in. Something else
I said Sourceline. I said Sourceline, I think.
Okay.
I said put a pin in Sourceline.
So, talk to me. Oh, first off, wait, okay. I forgot. So, yeah, so this is all icy up here. But this is land, and this is ice, correct?
Yep, exactly. That's land. That's ice/wasteland. Here's something that's happening, and I didn't know if I wanted to bring this up because it's a little bit difficult, but that entire wedge, that, like, if you imagine everything on a globe, it's like 25% of the world. It's like that wedge that goes up around those lakes, right? Mm-hmm. That's a region called the Dispel. It's totally anti-magic. It's so anti-magic that if you were a living thing dropped into the center of it, you'd be dead in moments. Near the edges of it, people age faster. Time is sapped from living things, and it's just this. It's like the Death Valley of magic.
Nice.
And it's moving though. That wedge, it's not like growing in both directions. It's just shifting. And in an eventual Enchea book, you'll be able to choose what direction it's going, or if it's going both directions, which I'm really excited about. But in my canon, it's moving towards Sourceline. And so this anti-magic breeds magical beings, and it's kind of there's an interesting enemy. I wanted to mention this earlier. We were talking about high magic, and the reason I put a pin in Sourceline is because it's the only place in Enchea that's not the only place, but it's the place where there's not a lot of high magic. There's not a lot of that. Like if you look at someone mentioned a rhino-looking peninsula. I appreciate it. Rhinoceros was the absolute concept. It ended up looking like a triceratops as a mistake, but rhino, absolutely. That whole like peninsula, that whole area around both of those horns is a metropolis. It's this huge city that utilizes these crystals to power itself, and it's and as you move outward, there are people who don't want to live like that, and they live in their own way. This is, in a lot of ways, there are utopian values in the society. Sourceline is right next to Solace Sound. The major ramification of pulling down the magic from the sky. Actually, in current canon, we're about to the story starts, right? Because every setting kind of has a starting point, whether it likes it or not. The story starts when they've decided that they need to cast a ritual called the opening of the third levee. And that's because it's the third time that they're pulling magic down from the sky, expanding the size of the hole, crystallizing this lake. One of the major ramifications of this, though, has been that to the south of that sound, and to the north of it, but to the south, there are these mountain ranges to the south of that crater that are just huge. And out of the crystal magic, just like the Varia, the essence of magic, have sprouted life forms that the Encheans call variophages. And they're like arachnid-like, biophage-esque creatures that spread feed on each other, break into multiple versions of themselves, find magic, absorb it, spread again. And when they're cut off from their magic source, usually this chrysalis, they turn into random monsters. That's my favorite part of them, is they become whatever monster you think. Right, the magic has to go somewhere, so it turns into a magical creature. And so again, that's my favorite part of them. My
Yeah.
next favorite part of them, holy nuts. My next favorite part of them is that they have taken root in those mountains to the south of Solace Sound. So now they're like embedded. They have a lodgment. They cannot just be removed. And so we have this basically these rogue army of crystalline Starship Troopers bugs up, like taking root in these mountains, that levy troopers with flamethrowers, magical, arcane devices have to go take them out. So imagine them calling down the third levy, and it does two things. Number one, it brings more power into the world because they need it to fuel something, right? Probably just everything. They need it to feed people, for instance. The second thing that ritual does is it immediately, using its own power, instantly across the entire world conscripts an army to fight south of Solace Sound, to fight the variophages that are going to be created by this act, because there's no way to, right? So there's an interesting dichotomy of what it means to raise a levy.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks everybody for the verbal. There are words for it, but can we just look at how amazing that map looked in all the 5 different variants you just presented?
Yeah. This is, I love this phase because it's like, it's popping now. It's
a map.
Yep. I'm gonna, that all sounds amazing. For people who are just joining us, I'll just say, I'm drawing a map of Barker's world that he has created over his many years now, Enchea, and they ran a Kickstarter for it. What was it, last summer, Barker?
It was last autumn. I think it was in September.
Okay.
Or finished in September or November. Yeah.
And that's the Battle for Arcturus Vault, and it's the setting for that adventure kit. It's called is Enchea, and that's the world we're talking about here. So you can find a link to that Kickstarter pinned in the chat, and you can find links to Absolute Tabletop's website in the video description. Just for the newcomers, if you're joining us a bit late here. Yeah, I mean, Barker, that sounds really cool. I'm going to give a couple more notes just about, for people who are interested in the mapping stuff, what I've done so far, if you don't mind.
Do it.
I think so. Yeah, I have just this is Photoshop. I use a Wacom Cintiq, and I got just a random parchment thing that I made a while back, but this is subject to change. I actually don't love this one. It's a little too grainy looking, but anyway,
really,
it does help it pop a little bit more and look more fantasy when you put something like this in there. And then what I did is I got a brown brush, and I've started doing that more on my maps that are not going to be black and white. Is if I'm using a brownish tone parchment, don't do any black on the map at all, is kind of where I'm leaning. Instead, it looks black, but it's actually just a dark brown.
Is that because it clashes?
Yeah, it stands out too much. It's a little too glaring almost.
Got it.
And so that's what I've started doing, is just a dark brown. I think I could probably go lighter on this, and we can actually make it a little lighter just by turning the opacity down too, but then it makes it more opaque, but maybe, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I've started doing that, and then for the coastline, I just use the I'll make a new layer, so you can see. Well, let me get OBS here. I don't know what you guys can see. Oh, you can't see my stuff here, so let's just drag this over a little bit. I made it. Oh no, I didn't like it. I made a new layer here called Water Shade, and then what I do is I go back to my coastline layer, and I take the magic wand tool, and on the coastline layer, I just select. It's like a fuzzy select tool in GIMP, and I hold Shift and I can select this. And as long as my lines go all the way to the edge, I've only selected the water. Then I can go back to the water shade layer and do a bucket fill. And at first it was all black because I had it as a let me drag this over here. I had it as a normal layer, but then I changed it to an overlay layer, and it just darkens the parchment as long as my water shade layer is over the parchment. And then I turned the opacity down a little bit because it's just, I don't know, I think that's a little too much. But it's a matter of taste and preference.
Very tea-stained.
Yeah.
How easy would it be to make that northeasternmost point, the top right, into land instead of water?
Absolutely easy. Yep. So what I would do is I would go, I could just erase all this pretty quickly.
I just thought, oh man, hold on, wait, go back.
Okay.
I just saw it happen and then didn't. Okay. So what did you do?
So I just erased the water shade. I'm on my water shade layer, and I just erase all that. And then I would also have to erase the coastline if we wanted to.
Dude. Yep.
So,
nice. Beautiful.
Do you like that better?
Yes. I
Yeah.
think so. I like it better as a whole because it looks.
Yep.
It looks like you can sail there, and you couldn't. You wouldn't be able to.
Gotcha. Yeah. And it is a bit tricky with ice. So one thing that we could do is we could actually just use another overlay layer. And this is kind of what I did on the Aeronaut map, I think. Yeah, I did a little bit for Everfrost. I'm
just imagining this as a globe a little bit. You can imagine how it would go off the northeastern side and then down the back side of the planet, and it could be like another horn-shaped thing.
Yeah.
Wow. Matt in the chat said, Barker, tell us about those plates. And he's saying that because we hung out the other day and I told him about these plates, these pewter plates, these history plates.
Oh, that.
I thought he meant tectonic plates because earlier on someone
tectonic plates.
Negative Space says, the more I look at tectonic plates, land formations in the mountains, the more I think it's not an exact science. It seems they are all random, even more in random directions and random sizes. I've been wondering what someone who knows a lot about and makes a lot of maps thinks about that, or if they've ever thought about it that way. They like certain geographical features, like the Himalayas. It's just like a bunch of mountains in one place. It's like, and it makes sense, but without context, it doesn't. And so, putting them in random places is like kind of the first step towards healing the idea that it has to be this strange, it has to be related to tectonic plates, because there could be floods, there could be glacial melts. There's a lot of things that define coastlines, not just tectonics, though those obviously do it. Factoid trigger, same thing, especially with political names.
What do you mean?
Not everything has to be a perfect sounding country that has history and depth and is beautiful, because there's a region in the world called the Benelux region. And I used to think it ends with an X, Benelux. So I used to think it was Benelux because it's this lowlands, Netherlands region, west of Germany, northeast of France, right? Benelux. No, it's Benelux because it's Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg. Did I say it right then? Benelux, yeah. Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg in one. Benelux. People just make stuff up, everybody. This is the secret. People just make stuff up. So people in your world can make stuff up too. And they absolutely do that in Enchea. There's like a bunch of weird, fun naming conventions I'm excited to throw on the map. Oh, that's such a nice brush that you're using.
Yeah, so that's a really great point. And I'll also say, before we talk about this awesome brush,
okay.
To Negative Space, Yeah, I agree with you. I'll just say that. I agree with you. Here's the thing about the tectonic plates and mountains and such, and I've kind of said this in a video, and I'm not a scientist, so take it with a grain of salt. But it seems to me that you can pretty much draw mountains wherever you want and come up with a reason to explain it. And it doesn't have to be, oh, magic. That's fine if you want to do that. But no, I mean, I actually mean like tectonics and, glacial melt and the movement of glaciers and other things like that all can be used to explain where you happen to put some mountains. In most cases. So yeah, if you look at a map and you kind of draw mountain ranges in a similar formation to what you see on other maps and what you think looks good, and what you think looks natural, then it will be fine. If you want to understand the tectonics and movement of glaciers and other factors that form coastlines or mountain ranges and stuff, sure, go for it. Like, that's cool. I have people on the Discord server all the time who are posting, here's a map of my land masses, and here's where the tectonic plates are and the way they're moving. And it's like, that's awesome. Cool. I respect it. So, yeah.
This is actually a good time for me to push a product, which I'm going to do shamelessly. At absolutetabletop.com. We made Be a Better Campaign Master, book 1. This is all about building a world. In there we have not only do we have art from Nate Vanderzee teaching us how to draw the basic geographical. I say basic; they're more advanced than anything I could make. The geographical shapes, the like how to draw cities, how to draw hills, how to draw mountain ranges. But also we have a dice system where you can generate tectonic movements after creating some continent shapes. So there's a little bit of that advice. So check that out if you're interested. There is a free sample of that book, and that part might be in it. So check out the free sample first, because you might be able to get it for free. Thanks for checking that out.
Yeah, you're a terrible salesperson. Don't buy the book. That was a lot of fun. That was a long time ago, and that was a real big deal for me to be able to work with you guys on that project at the time. So yeah, check out that book. It was a ton of fun, and I find it super inspirational in terms of world building. And I'm talking about the stuff that them guys wrote. It's super useful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what I don't love how yellow this turned out, so this would need some adjustment. But there are a couple ways that you can make a northern region or a southern region for that matter, or any region look a little colder, and that one is by lightening it up and making it kind of whitish. I think for me, what I would have to do is probably focus more on the land mass for this, and then figure an alternative solution out for the water, because the water just looks so yellowish that I don't like it. But right now I did an overlay layer, and it's possible I would need to do a color layer and just make it white, and then use this brush. And the beauty of this brush, I just posted a link in the chat to Fantastic Maps website, where he describes how to make a grungy brush. He uses this for all his shading. This is a guy who is super skilled and has made some of the official maps for Game of Thrones, and so he's really good. And it's useful for all sorts of shading and highlights mainly, but also even I'll use this brush sometimes, one effect that I really like, and I can just make a new layer here, and I'm going to call it, we'll call it color, or edge grunge. There we go. Because one thing that's kind of fun to do is, and I'll make this an overlay layer again, one thing that's fun to do is just kind of get a little bit of a vignette look on your map by, okay, so I still got white here. I want darker. Let's see. Yeah, so you can kind of just go like this and get a little bit of like that edge grunge. And right now it's a little too dark, so I'll just turn the opacity down in a minute. But
what if like you were looking at the top and saying it was too yellow? The dispel is pretty, it's not Sourceline, but it's kind of that first lake to the east. It's almost like the easternmost side of Sourceline. Like it has a beachhead on Sourceline. Everything east of that is kind of anti-magic and withered and dying. And I wonder if that would be an excuse to do something different from the usual. Well, this is lighter because it's northern. Even though it is like snowy, actually it turns kind of ashen. It's more ash as you go. But either way, it's that light gray, white. So that you can play with that. But if you, what do you think of that?
So, okay, first of all, tell me what region you're talking about.
Sourceline, that the easternmost side of it, like that edge, could be a beachhead of everything there east of that kind of. So, it doesn't have to be, but like there might be an excuse to make it grimy and dark and withered. And Cat Monarchist just said something that's absolutely fact. It's Carpathian Mountains are at an acute angle in Transylvania. God should be blamed for lack of realism. It's those mountains were pulled up by the avatar of Vlad the Impaler, who impaled all the other gods, all the other Slavic gods on the mountainous spires of the Carpathians. That's absolute act. That's so true, though. That's like Mordor. They're so funny. Geography and geology are so funny.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so you're talking about making this a little darker.
Yeah, so like there, east, everything east of that, kind of like in an acute angle like this. Actually, I'll show you this. This is awful. This is basically the same map, but I made these. You can barely see this line. See this line barely poking through there. That's the edge of the dispel right on Sourceline, and then the other direction is where it's the edge right on this line.
Gotcha. And so all of that region to the east of Sourceline, basically the east edge of Sourceline and all these peninsulas and such would be part of the dispel.
Yep, okay, exactly. And it ends, it's funny because it ends here, right where this kind of like long peninsula starts. I guess it's a long continent.
Barker, is this the map that you sent me? Yes, it is.
No, not really. I did not send it to you. I took a picture of it and like threw it your way.
Yes.
Very late in the game.
I'm just gonna paste this in here for my reference, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And then I will, with everyone understanding that this is just messy world building stuff.
I don't think I wrote something like MF and mountains. Look at these SOBs.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Gosh darn ding dongs. I didn't say any of that. No.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'll just call this geog reference from Barker. Cool. Yeah, I forgot about this thing. Thanks for pulling that out.
No worries.
Okay. So, I mean, let's. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. For. Boy, what layer is this? Okay, so that's my lightning.
And is that kind of like the overall map has kind of been in the sun in this place, so it's lighter in the top? And that's kind of like, that's your way of saying, hey, this is also north.
That's it. That's right. Why I do this.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it. You should make maps. Have you ever considered doing this like a lot?
The thought has crossed my mind.
When was your last Mappening?
When was my last Mappening?
I know. I say it tongue in cheek because I know Matt's listening and his Mappening is campaign crafting, but that's a long.
My last Mappening was probably about a year ago, maybe 2.
Oh man. People are saying, people comment rip channel on my channel, but listen, you can't kill rock and roll.
That's right. Okay, so I just got rid of that and say, let's try the darkening instead. Over to, yeah, now here's the question. So one thing that I was thinking is, if this is ice, like, maybe what I should do is just lighten the water in this part of the world.
Yep.
And the
Yep.
land could actually be darker.
Mm-hmm.
That's one option.
That's really cool.
The only problem with that is the challenge with it is, in some ways, we're increasing the contrast when really, like, if it's ice, there might not seem to be much contrast to the people who are living up here, because if it's frozen, they can just walk across and they're like, I don't know when I hit land or water. So that's the conundrum. You know what I mean?
You know how they get there? It's amazing. They get there by shielding themselves in arcane magic and going on timelines. Like, they can be there for like, they have the oxygen for a minute inside this arcane sheet, so they can witness what's happening there, do their research, and get back. But if they accidentally teleport into a massive anti-magic tornado, they're going to be torn to shreds. And or in a variophage nest that's like surviving off of itself, they're toast. So I always think that's funny.
Yeah. Wow, that's intense. I mean, this got real dark, guys. Wow. So
Yeah, right.
I think, well, for now, I'm just gonna maybe just darken the whole thing, and yeah, I don't know. We'll just play with it. I'm just gonna put it on my edge grunge
Nice
layer, and that the rest of the grunge work I did. So this brush, let me just show you. I can push really hard, and nothing's happening, and nothing happens. Let me just try a watershed layer. Oh, that's not going to work either. So I'll just make we'll go edge grunge, and I'll crank up the opacity for now. I was at 39, I'll remember that. But yeah, if I push hard, you can see like what it does. If I push really lightly, it doesn't do much. So it's got some pressure opacity for sure. And if I, I'm like drawing here, then I can get real dark with it, and then lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter.
Nice.
And you can kind of see the randomness of the edges too. So that's because I have it set to like rotate. So if you go into the brush settings, there's all this cool stuff in Photoshop. And so yeah, scattering. So I've got scattering turned on, but not many of the settings there. Shape dynamics, roundness jitter, so how round and what angle the brush is at will jitter as I use it. And size jitter as well, so that it can be bigger or smaller, just at random. And then transfer, obviously, we've got some opacity stuff. Whoops, smoothing, I didn't even know I had turned on here, but anyway. So there's a lot of fun stuff to play with there, but those are some of the settings for this brush. And for now, we're just gonna go in and make it a little darker here. I'm gonna erase this, and we'll get our edge grunge back. And let's see what we can do.
Oh, baby.
And I'm gonna pull this back up here. Okay, so it's right about like here. Starts, and then yeah, certainly like that sort of effect, whatever effect you want on here could also be done with line work. That's just another thing to think about, where it's just like the texture that I give the land with little lines, whether it's like little tufts of grass or little wavy lines with weeds growing out of them for like a swamp. So anyway, I'll just throw that out there too, just for us to think about that it could also be done with line work. But yeah, and now I'm going to erase it all because I realize there's a funky line I don't like, and I don't trust myself to be able to fix it without screwing it all up. And that took like 3 minutes.
What is that? Oh, that horizontal line I'm seeing. That's I thought you were adding to that. That's part of the parchment look. Awesome. Okay, I see it. There's like a
Right here.
horizontal line. Yep, right there. Yep,
Yeah,
that's the
that's what I
horizontal.
was just noticing too, and I think you're right, Barker. So
It's
that
part
was
of
that
that.
was bugging me, and so that's why I just erased it. I was like, oh, I got this line here. No, it's part of the parchment. All right,
Yep.
so
Oh, wow.
I can't adjust that, but I'm just gonna go with it for now.
Um, I also have another, ginger between the sushi sort of idea or task or
Yeah,
thought about the crater, right? That crater space.
yeah,
One of the things about that space is it's a natural formation, and I like that it looks like a natural formation because when you look at it, you think, "Oh wow, that's a natural formation." But I feel like the people of Enchea would have constructed canals around it, like giant waterworks, earthworks around it to look like a geometric shape, like the cover of a Tool album, like a spell that Doctor Strange would cast, right? So it
yeah,
looks like a circle crater, but it's got like this geometric pattern around it that is centered on that island in the middle.
yeah,
Um, that is something that we don't have to do here, but I feel like that's kind of the task when making a fantasy map out of a, a world that was honestly that's made to be sold in an antique store on the streets of Auria,
yeah,
because it's not useful except for to put on your wall and enjoy this cool ancient look of the NKM, the map of the world that you know today without
yeah,
as it used to be. I don't know.
yeah. The charm of it,
Hmm.
yeah, the perhaps relic like nature of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like that. That was actually something. Okay, so first off, for my clarity, you're talking about the whole crater, basically. Like, yeah. So let me just give you.
Like if you look I googled Doctor Strange spell symbol, and what you have are a bunch of circles
Yeah,
that pop up, like that sort of thing around. Now here's an interesting thing. It would be around the crater, um and it would have to leave Sur Saline alone, so it would be kind of like a
yep,
semicircle because it has to be empowered from a different direction. Sur Saline, that's part of the treaty, is that they have there's one city there that is empowered with Varia. One city. It's a port, and it, like many like multiple cities in Enchea, it's centerpieced by a crashed airship. That's how they powered it, through this ritual that involved scuttling an airship into the middle of the woods and then using its power to build the city. Everything outside of the city, no magic allowed. As in, like, no intent to cast any spells or pull any magic from sacred woods, etc.
wow, yeah,
Wow, that's
sweet.
yeah, that got
Um,
away from me.
no, that's cool. I love that. So yeah, so okay, you are then saying some sort of symbol here that is not going to touch Sir Celine. So could it be like that, or is it like no, it can't even touch the coastline?
No, I think it actually would be carved into the coastline. So there would be a little bit obviously carved into the coastline, and then uh, a lot of it outside. So like the landmass that you see here, the southern landmass would be cut into greatly, big time,
Okay.
with canals and basically just arcane, a massive arcane symbol, so that these hundreds of alchemists could work together in unison as using this as a giant ritual circle, the size of Texas, really, like
Yeah.
to pull power from the sky. So it would be something that you could see from space, cut into the terrain. It's important that it still looks like a crater, but it doesn't need to be. And if this map is ancient Enchea, before the first opening of the levee,
Yeah.
then this would just be a crater. This wouldn't have the symbol on it.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
that's the route we take.
I'm happy to work something out there, and it could just be, yeah. So where I was gonna go, but I asked you first explain that, so thank you. What I'm thinking is, what I was thinking is something you basically said is like, I think this map should be made by someone in Enchea, and there should be a story behind it, and it doesn't have to be like a specific, like this person or whatever. I just mean like, what if? Because my original thought when you mentioned the idea to me, like I want there to be, yeah, we're gonna have this more modern map, but I also would think it would be cool to have like a fantasy version. More in my style, it's a little more traditional old world style fantasy. My initial thought was perhaps there's a certain culture in Enchea presently that would make a map in this style. But I think it's easier to explain in the way you are, is like, no, this is an antique, this is ancient. It could still be from a specific culture, or there could be a story behind it. But yeah. So anyway,
this is okay. So let's do it through this lens. There's this ancient. I keep saying ancient. I don't know if I mean ancient, but I think that I do. I keep waxing and waning between whether or not anyone in Enchea is alive to remember when they last pulled magic from the sky. Like maybe it's just generations and generations. Maybe they have this huge archive. There's a magical archive in Enchea, and maybe so much time has passed that they just can't hold enough memory. So that it's just like they're losing history as they go. So they're trying to keep it up to date, and so they have these relics. Which something like this, honestly, this might seem very modern or something else, but something like this map would be purchased on the street by someone who has a casual interest in the history of the world. And they would hang it up in their room, and there would be there's no spires there where the great sea wall had to be built. Maybe there's no, the crater hasn't been carved into this pentagon / like Doctor Strange runic symbol, and the dispel hasn't spread. This is the world as it was before all of the good stuff came in. Quotes. That's kind of interesting. So, and I'll put it on my wall because I'm going to school to become an alchemist, historian. I want to study the history of Solace Sound and the secrets that lie there.
Yeah, I think that's a cool route to take. I like it. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I could go. I'm terrible. I respect what you guys do so much at AbTab in terms of like, you're talking about this now, and then like that could be in a book. I have dabbled in like trying to write some things for other people to read, and find it so challenging to take that leap of like this thing that I just thought of. Because right now I'm like, oh man, I love what you're saying to me, and I wanna write about this person who's studying and wanting to learn more about it, and I wanna commission a piece of art about their study in the room they're in, and I wanna I wanna develop this. This is cool.
Yeah.
But
who do you star?
When
who
I
do you
actually
star in your vision? That's what's funny. You got to put like a movie star or like some famous person in the inside of your mental idea of what we're looking at.
Yes. But when I actually try to like even write a paragraph about this person or thing, like I really struggle. So anyway, all that to say, I respect what you guys do a lot, and I know it's difficult. So
thank you.
But you guys have gotten very good at it. Cool. Okay. So certainly feel free to let me know if you do want something in terms of like a symbol there if you change your mind on that. But for now, the way you're leaning is maybe that wouldn't be on this map, yes?
Yeah, I think that wouldn't be on this map. I think it would stay roughly this way, and you could do your usual like it's lighter up here because this is northern, like that sort of thing. You could still lean into that because that is the case. Like sort of Celine's a frozen north trope for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'm just gonna do my regular edge grunge, and then I'll figure out like the lightning later and run some progress your way at some point in terms of how. Oop, that is the wrong thing, Nate. Come on. Edge grunge. Delete.
Nate.
There we go. Control D. Now, we got more edge grunge here that needs to be erased. So let's do it. Get out of my face, you edge grunge. It sounds like a terrible insult, doesn't it?
I think that actually is a name of a Filter album.
Yes.
So
Filter.
Cool.
I think Filter may have been my first rock and roll t-shirt, if you can call that.
Really? Now that's a good one.
My first band t-shirt.
Your first band t-shirt.
Yeah, you know where I got it?
Where? Hot Topic.
Fred Meyer.
That's worse. That's better. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, it's like slightly classier Walmart.
Yeah. Yep.
For those who don't know, I know Matt knows Fred Meyer. All right. It's so weird. To a little aside, some real world talk for a second. Fred Meyer is a store in Washington where I grew up. I think it's also maybe in some other places occasionally. But out here in Michigan, where I live now, there is a store called Meijer. Now, it's spelled differently. It's spelled M-E-I-J-E-R, not M-E-Y-E-R. But Meijer is not Fred Meyer. However, the founder of Meijer, get this, his name is Frederick. And there are things all over West Michigan, like Frederick Meyer Gardens, the Fred and Lena Meyer Heart Center, and all this stuff. And it's like, what are the chances, man? And Meijer, the Meijer store is very similar to Fred Meyer. Like it's like slightly
really?
classier Walmart. Yeah. Anyway, so Enchea.
I'm beginning to really. I didn't appreciate the shape of the continent of the world as much until this. Initially, I thought the island in the southeast. It's a big isthmus. It's actually not an island, right? It's a subcontinent attached.
Yes.
I was like, that should be an island. But the more I look at it, the more I kind of like it as being this strange. I mean, I could put whatever goes in that isthmus must be important, right? So right now I have a star. Way. Yeah. Okay, I think so too.
I really do. One question I have for you, if you're not done, sorry if I interrupted you.
I don't think I'm finished. I know, not at all. I'm stoked.
Okay. So one question I have for you is, these islands right here are also looking fairly round. Are they similar to what we saw down here, where they are changing and we can figure out a way to represent that?
Sure. So actually, those islands would not go on this map because those islands are more like giant, like castle-sized, citadel-sized pylons.
Oh, wow.
that channel magic and hold the sea at bay. It's just a huge wall, and on that side is ocean, and on this side is Enchea. If these ever went out, the sea would flood in, and we would all die. The ocean would be pushed back like to the mountains, almost all the way to Endergreen Reserve.
Nice.
I said that. I love how I said that. Like everyone would be like, "Oh yes, of course, Endergreen. The old Endergreen. I've been there." And so there is actually a wall that keeps water out, or like allows only a certain amount in. It's a very complex ritual that my alchemists just can't tell. We can't inform you how it's done. The knowledge is too great.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I like it.
Lots of passwords.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In other words, you have no idea. Okay. So Patrick brings up a cool point when we were talking about the the crater area. He said, Nate, using a circle will be most noticeable when cut into the land.
Oh no,
Perhaps
you cut
extend
out.
the land towards.
Did I cut out?
Oh, maybe it was me. I will repeat what I
Chat,
said.
did
just
he
in
cut
case.
out, or did I? Is it my headphones?
It won't take that long for me to say it again. Patrick said, oh, maybe it's me. Hold on, let me check. Yeah, chat, let us know.
It is my headset.
Okay.
You're coming through perfectly on my speaker, so I'm gonna get my backup headset because I'm the best and the smartest and the nicest. Let me turn these suckers off.
Yeah, and get this, Matt. Well, I'll wait to Barker's back before I say that. Get this, Matt. Get this. It gets weirder. We don't have Fred Meyer out here, but in addition to Meyer, M-E-I-J-E-R, we do, however, have Fred Meyer Jewelers. That's right. So, it's just, yeah. There's so much weirdness and confusion. I can't even.
I bet you can hear me through these terrible headphones.
It actually sounds a little bit better than before, I think.
Then my $100 headphones, I don't believe it. I refuse to believe it. I can't live with that.
Maybe not. Maybe it's just because I'm hearing you again, and it's been so long.
I'm sure the chat will be honest either way. I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll let me know. All right.
So what I was saying is, Patrick left a comment that I thought was interesting. It doesn't really apply to now that we've decided not to do it, but I still think it's worth talking about. He said, Nate, using a circle will be most noticeable when cut into the land. Perhaps extend the land towards the crater, but then cut them with a circle. I thought that was an interesting idea. I agree that to make something look, unnatural. Like if we did, and again we're not doing this, but maybe it can be useful for your other map too. Yeah. The more circle-like, the more unnatural it will appear. You could still do some little sort of things on it, or I don't know, woo, that one got crazy and fun. Anyway, but certainly a circle is very consistent, and I think it would be important, whatever that shape would be, to have a lot of consistency, which looks unnatural.
Yep, exactly. I actually liked because I think that crater should be about that big, but now that I'm thinking about it, I think Patrick is on point where if you make the crater just a titch smaller, then you can put actually now I'm thinking you can make the crater a little bit smaller and then put the circle kind of where the crater is now. You can also make a very between the island and the edge of the crater as it is now, you can put another ring, like an unnatural, we built this ring of land around that, and that could be like a connector piece between the island or between that ring and the outside circle. So there are a lot of different ways. Again, like you've said, we don't have to do that, but I love that idea of extending the land towards the crater, right? So I guess that means making the crater just a little bit smaller, right? And then putting the circle, the unnatural circle, maybe two canals, two circles side by side, maybe something weird and unnatural.
Yeah.
Around that would be really cool, and that's very much what I'm looking for in the final, this 19th century version of a map of Enchea is what the final current version will look like.
Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, good suggestion, Patrick. Thank you. Lots of Meyer comments in the chat. Yep. All right, cool. So I probably have to go in about 5 minutes because I hear a lot of thumping around upstairs, and that would be my kids like
Let's close out then.
getting
Let's say our
all the
goodbyes.
marshmallows out of my cupboards and
Oh.
finding all the chocolate chips
Make
and
it
putting them
even
in the
less
microwave and making a big mess. And no, we're not closing out yet. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you, Barker, about mountains. Well, no. First of all, tell me about this area. Was this that city you're talking about right here?
Okay, so yes, there is a. If you look at that, oh, yep, no, open that back up so I can show you, because there's 4 stars there, right, in a little crux formation, and then to the west there's one more star, that's like all, right there, perfect. Everything between those areas is a metropolis, just a massive city. It's where most of the population in Enchea live. It's called Auria or Orilla, depending on where you're from, and it is just the hub of enlightened arcane. There are airships in the sky that are all powered by Varian crystals. There are balloons that will take you up as far as you can reach for a small fee. People transfer money using stones embedded in their wrists. It's got an arcane punk, like a cyberpunk vibe with magic. And so that area, yes, is all this city. That lake is this huge lake in the middle of it. So it's kind of this underwater spot. And I imagine that there's going to be a harbor, like a canal that connects that lake to the ocean. I don't know, maybe not. The geometric shape that we've been talking about for the last 30 minutes, I imagine that one might be down there too. So there's an opportunity for that, if it's not too much. And but that's Oria. That's the center of all Enchean civilization.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. How is it spelled? Oh wait, so this right here is a lake, right?
Yep,
and
that's kind of
Oria is the city, or is the group of cities?
It's actually it's the city. Those stars are each airships powering different areas. It's a metropolis, so they're like, I guess 4 different cities that are combined into one. So there are different districts at this point. Cool. Aurilla.
Aurilla. And so the city itself is just this, like, takes up this whole area.
Yep, very much so. And it's safe to say that when I say Enchea, when I'm talking about it in a political sense, like the world that everyone lives under, I'm really talking about Auria, because that's the center of, that's the political center of the world. And so everyone is kind of participating in this political world built around utopian ideals, and watching as the water rises over the seawall, watching as we need to pull down more power, watching as baryophages have taken root in the mountains south of Solace Sound, watching as the dispel spreads, watching as something strange is happening in Adrian Pass. The Emilian orchards are becoming wilted, and they're no longer able to feed the area around it. So there are a lot of problems. There are a lot of cracks in the facade. And the Auria is struggling to keep itself together and maintain this, at this point, probably millennia-long peace. Aside from the massive Vario wars happening in the mountains against the Variophages, but like it's that's the. So it's important to note that Auria is not separate from the area outside the city. It is partitioned off by design, because not everybody wants to live like that. Not everybody wants to live in this urban center. Some people want to live off the land. Some people, they use magic to haul their bales of hay and their fruit from the Emilian orchards to Auria, but they'll go back and they might light their fires in their hearths using Varian crystals, but they won't, they won't earn their entire subsistence off of it. So,
yeah,
I think so, Patrick.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, cool. So yeah, you guys can see a little bit of Barker's scribbles here, which is the proper way to just like world build and go nuts, in my opinion. Messy is the proper way, and I love it.
Do you see that like country to the north? It's just like a block of lines. I just lined very, it's called Palisade, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It goes around. It's because on the northern side of Palisade, there are variophages everywhere. And so it's like a massive military encampment, a series of walls and castles protecting the southern territories from these arachnids, these crystalline fiends, right? That can turn into monsters and fly over Palisade to get to the southern land. So there's a lot to it. But that reminded me of when we were talking about how political names and boundaries are arbitrary. That is an arbitrary boundary that is there to show us a political status quo, not an actual realistic status quo.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that about maps. There's just so many ways you can interpret things, and so many ways that maps differ from reality even sometimes, and give you false impressions, and that can tell you something about the world. And I always think of like the mountains between Pakistan and Afghanistan, or the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan. It's like, the people here in that very mountainous, rugged region, they have no idea. Like, maybe they do, right? But they don't care about that border. It's a very porous border, and it happens to be where Osama bin Laden probably snuck across and got out of Afghanistan. It's just like, no, they're we look at map and we see these nice clean borders, and they're not always, those lines aren't always so clean in reality.
Exactly, right. We're talking about hundreds of different diverse cultures and ethnic groups and peoples, and an arbitrary line drawn in the 19th century that pretends to bear any sort of reality beyond this superficial one that the hegemons get to make up as they go.
Yeah.
There's some of that in Enchea. Not actually, I've tried to actually keep the kind of colonial tendencies out, because I think there are other places worth exploring. And so I love the agreement between Sur Saline and Oria that Oria is not going to touch Sur Saline, that they can live the way they want to live. But there's also this problem of the dispel moving towards Sur Saline. I mentioned that it could be moving away, and if it were, then those people would thrive even more. That's an exciting prospect.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's interesting when you talk about colonialism, and so walking that line sometimes between infusing real world drama, because A, it makes for good story, and B, it feels authentic. It can be tricky to include those themes without making a place that feels oppressive.
Sure. And I think when you lack those themes, when you remove those themes, it almost becomes more of some people are like, wow, how could that possibly be? That seems unrealistic because we're so used to our real world. In Enchea, this is a society where, imagine that everyone agreed in the single moment of how to live. That's why there's no colonial tendencies, because everyone already agreed on this. And they have the power to make it happen, and they've gone for thousands of years. Now it's breaking apart, and we see how that happens. But it almost seems like it's missing because we're so steeped in it in real life. I think that's how I feel personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, I've heard. I remember someone, kind of commenting on Dark Sun. As like almost too like dark for where we are as a culture in terms of I don't know, just like oppression, racism, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think you're absolutely right that if you're setting completely lax any of the negative things we find in the real world. What conflicts are you going to have? Because you need conflict for good story. And B, what it's going to be completely like, huh? I'm having a hard time conceptualizing. This is a really, really high fantasy here.
Yeah, it's right. And that's it. And I say, go for it anyway, right? Because, kill the trope off by moving past it. Because what's cool is that there are opportunities like the dispel. I mean, that's kind of like, I don't want to use this term. This is because it carries so much weight, but that's kind of like a climate change thing. It's like, it's an occurring thing that's like pushing people away from their homes, and people need rescuing from these monsters that are coming out of the dispel and out of these mountains. And there are people who need escorts out of regions that are going haywire in terms of like there are tornadoes. There's religious zealots that want to bring they view the entire utopian society as a blasphemy and want to just end the world for the sake of ending it and let the world get back to this natural course or whatever. Like, there are conflicts that reside elsewhere. And I think the best example is Star Wars. Enchea is like, it's arguable that like you have the Empire that is very xenophobic, but outside of that, it's very similar in Enchea, where there's just life forms everywhere. There's so much magic in the world coming out of the thicket. It's a huge forest in the northeast, and so many different peoples that it's like you'll walk into a gelatinous character who's the commander of an army and is riding a platform that's fueled by Varian crystals, and be like, oh, okay, that's like that makes sense because this is Enchea. And you can play as that character potentially if we ever have an Enchea book, if we ever galvanize that much support. But I think that there's the campaign settings, fantasy settings are ripe for new conflict, and it's there. And it might be difficult to get to, but there are ways, and I love to think that we're helping find them.
Yeah, that's cool.
Class struggle. That's huge. I can't believe I didn't mention class struggle. People hoarding magic. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, this is very real. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Jack Brown.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yep. There's all kinds of real world conflicts that they just make a world feel authentic, and they create good stories. Even if they are, based on like bad things. You got to have some bad things in a world in some ways. The last thing I want to ask you, Barker, is are there other places? So we mentioned the AbTab Facebook group. Are there other places that people can find you? Any social media handles you want me to plug into the video description or anything? Or
sure. I'll just say this piece. I'm not great at social media, but the Absolute Tabletop official group is a place that means a lot to me. And soon, Absolute Tabletop and absolutetabletop.com, we're going to be kind of putting out some new and exciting things with our social media and our Discord. And to be honest, we're just stoked to get energized again. It's been a busy couple of years. It's been a busy time, and now we're getting back into this creative mode, and we're getting excited about it. And so, yeah, I hope to see all of you over there. I'm on Twitter if anyone cares. Inspire the Barks is my name on Twitter. You can follow me on YouTube, actually. Check out here. I'm about to say hi in the chat. Hi. My name is Barker with an exclamation point. You can click on that. I have YouTube videos about running tabletop role-playing games. Be a Better Game Master, which I haven't plugged in a long time. It's a heckin' treasure trove over there. Enjoy what old Barker has to say. And I'm still looking for Shank Ranger.
Cool. Well, I will add some of those links in the video description. And AbTab does great work. They're good friends of mine. They're good people. So definitely go over to the Facebook group and check them out at absolutetabletop.com. And once again, this product here is Battle for Arctur's Vault. is kind of their latest Kickstarter adventure kit that features this world of Enchea. So, Barker, thank you so much for hanging out tonight. I appreciate it, and it was fun to connect with you again, man, and be creative together.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you. Let's do this again for fun. Any new map, let's just make maps together.
Sounds good to me. All right, cool. Well, thank you everybody for hanging with us here. We're gonna end the stream now, and hope you have a good evening, or morning, or day, wherever you are. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like. Make sure you're subscribed. This is my live channel, so it's a little bit different, and I'll be, occasionally going live with stuff like this or with actual plays. Probably going to be running the One Ring starter set sometime this summer, so that'll be fun. And a lot of fun stuff happening on this channel, a little more occasionally than on the main channel, but make sure you're subscribed. And cool. Take care, everybody. Have a great evening.